Google may just have unlocked one of the craziest enigmas hidden deep within the Peruvian heart, megalithic buildings that stand centuries tall in silence, mystifying historians, engineers, and fantasists in equal measure. The ruins have long stood veiled in an air of secrecy, as if they were purposely keeping secrets that defied every effort to nail them down. But then, courtesy of Google's satellites, LiDAR scanning, and state-of-the-art artificial intelligence, new evidence has surfaced. And it is not random, it is points on a map that lead directly towards an ancient enigma that can perhaps finally be about to be solved. But as thrilling as that would be, the actual question is more sobering: are we even ready for the answer? Because sometimes, when secrets are solved, they don't just tell us about the past, they compel us to reconsider the present. If you're ready for this, then keep your eyes peeled and your mind receptive, because the tale of Peru's megalithic marvels could just turn the history books on their head. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel Spark Science, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. It was just reported that Google, in collaboration with groups of archaeologists from around the world, had uncovered staggering findings at Peru's most mysterious ancient ruins. These were not minor discoveries. Specialists have concurred that the discoveries are transforming how archaeology itself is known. For centuries, these colossal stone remnants have been analyzed and listed as individual structures or mere ceremonial complexes. But now, the new information uncovered something much bigger, something that seemed both intentional and coordinated. The partnership between Google's Earth Engine project and leading researchers opened doors thought to be forever closed, and one could not help but feel both wonder and discomfort. How much of history has been just waiting in the open, for the appropriate tools to come along and reveal itself? And even more eerie still, what occurs when technology uncovers something that should never have been forgotten? The discovery came with the application of LiDAR, which stands for light detection and ranging. While regular aerial photography scans only the surface, LiDAR utilizes small bursts of laser beams discharged from aircraft flying over the ground. Every pulse reflects off after hitting the ground, and by determining the time of return, researchers can construct amazingly detailed 3D images of terrain, even terrain that is buried beneath heavy foliage or centuries of dirt. It was like providing human beings with X-ray vision over the surface of the Earth, said Dr. Elena Corchigina, one of the top archaeologists on the team. They could strip jungles away, bare mountainsides, and expose structures no human eye could ever detect standing on the ground. As she put it, like walking into the past, to see the skeleton of history laid out before them. And yet the revelations did not end there. The information captured using LiDAR was enormous, too enormous for regular human eyes to comprehend. This is where Google's DeepMind AI stepped in. Educated on huge collections of existing architectural styles and natural environments, the AI started to recognize patterns that were undetectable to researchers. The maps were no longer merely maps of stone, they were blueprints of purpose. Buildings were found to have exact astronomical alignments, corridors traced geometric sequences, and ceremonial centers repeated mathematical patterns throughout whole regions. It was not stone on top of stone alone. It was proof of knowledge, of science, of an elaborate system of thought and design that had once spanned the Andean world. And with each line the AI drew, another question occurred: had the ancient South Americans been much more advanced, much more interlinked, and much more calculated than any historian had been willing to accept? Satellite technology pushed the inquiry further. Ground-penetrating radar and thermal imaging made visible what for centuries had lain hidden below the very surface of Peru. In Sacsayhuaman, the citadel of zigzagging walls of gigantic dimensions above Cusco, thermal anomalies uncovered a vast underground complex that ran for almost 2 kilometers. These rooms were not haphazardly placed, they were designed to a logic. They bore traces of advanced water systems that implied sophisticated hydraulic engineering. Dr. Alejandro Paniagua, a member of the Peruvian National Institute of Culture, noted that these buildings were not solo monuments but part of an integrated system of an enormous infrastructure, as if the remnants of an old metropolis buried under mountains. To learn this was to feel history come alive beneath your feet. If true, it was urban design, hydraulic engineering, and scientific knowledge that would not be seen again in Europe for more than 1,000 years. As even more information came in, multispectral imaging confirmed still further marvels. Roads and communication paths appeared like lit arteries across the craggy Andean landscape. They were not primitive trails, they were carefully laid out networks, reducing energy, maximizing visibility, and connecting ceremonial centers across impossible distances. Whole artificial plateaus and terraces emerged, not cut by chance but constructed consciously into landscapes. Water catchment systems and fortifications displayed a people who not only revered the earth but reformed it to their advantage. Abruptly, the question was inevitable: had modern archaeology been underestimating the ingenuity of pre-Columbian civilizations all along? Dr. Corchagina herself highlighted a truth many had ignored. For decades, the world was amazed at the accuracy of Inca stonework, the manner in which vast blocks fit together so well that no piece of grass could find an opening between. But, she maintained, this was merely one part of a far greater puzzle. The evidence indicated a society with sophisticated understanding of astronomy, hydraulics, mathematics, and urban planning. And most unbelievable of all, this was just the start. The crew acknowledged that they were still in the beginning of a long-term investigation. Every new find didn't seal the mystery, it merely revealed more questions, more links, and more clues that something much larger had once been. Technology wasn't only revealing stones, it was revealing histories. Each stone block held within it the wisdom, the aspiration, and the lives of individuals who lived thousands of years earlier. With LiDAR, AI, and satellite eyes, humanity was finally hearing the silent voices. And if this much had already been uncovered, what else was waiting under the Andean ground? Might discoveries in the future not only rewrite the tale of Peru, but the very tale of human civilization? The enigma was no longer academic, it was personal. It compelled us to consider the potential that history was much older, much more complicated, and much stranger than we had ever conceived. What is so puzzling about these ruins is not merely their presence but how they contradict logic in modern engineering. Walking around the walls of Sacsayhuaman, for instance, is an experience that makes even the most experienced engineer humble. Stones are as heavy as 200 tons, but they are wedged in position with such accuracy that even centuries of earthquakes did not budge them. In contrast to Spanish colonial structures that crumbled under the tremors, such megaliths held firm as if in defiance of nature. The technique is ashlar masonry, cutting stones so accurately that they do not need to be held together by mortar. When the earthquakes occur, the stones shift and then settle back into place in neat fit, a natural seismic resistance modern engineers are still working to duplicate. Think about it, long before steel and concrete, ancient architects had found methods still on par with the leading edge today. And then there is the enigma of how these enormous stones were even transported. They were quarried more than 30 kilometers away and carried over rugged mountains. Without cranes, without iron, without wheels, how did they manage? Some speculate ropes, ramps, and mud. Others theorize the ingenuity of thousands of laborers coordinating for years. But when you stand in front of a block the size of a house, faceted with 12 sides to slide snugly against its companions, the explanation seems almost simplistic. And the more you dig, the more bizarre it gets. Radiocarbon dating at some of the sites indicates that they date thousands of years before the Incas, and point instead to a lost civilization, one which might have used technology we no longer do. The Inca themselves conceded as much. Their own oral traditions, subsequently written down by Spanish chroniclers, tended to say that the great walls and fortresses already existed when they came along. They attributed the construction to previous groups, giants, or divine ones known as viracochas. The Incas employed the buildings, incorporated them into their empire, but never said that they constructed them ab initio. Can you imagine that, the same people history attributes with these monuments expressly stated, we did not build them? Should we brush aside what they said as myth, or should we hear? Scientific evidence is disturbing. Tool mark analysis reveals cuts in granite and andesite that bronze tools were incapable of. Bronze is 3, granite is 6 on the Mohs scale. It's like trying to carve diamond with wood, cutting granite with bronze just isn't possible. And yet the rocks carry the scars of precise cuts, in some cases even with smooth, machine-like finish. Did some earlier civilization have tools or methods lost to the ages? Were they employing natural chemistry, maybe dissolving rock with plant substances as myths imply? Or were they using forces such as magnetism or sound in ways we cannot yet emulate? Even Google's spectroscopic sweep suggested chemical changes within the stone itself, organic residues deep within the blocks, as if the rock had at one time been softened. Legends of vegetation that could melt stone, relegated for centuries to myth, now bore consideration. Were these legends perhaps keeping in memory chunks of lost science? And then there is the issue of the stars. Google's AI uncovered alignments so precise, so recurring, that to write them off as coincidence was impossible. Buildings aligned solstices and equinoxes with sub-degree precision. Floor plans adhered to the golden ratio, intermingling mathematics and aesthetic in each brick. This was not chance. It was intentional. It was knowledge of the heavens encoded in the ground. Everything pictures something that undermines the very foundation of our history. For centuries, we told a straightforward tale: the Incas arose, they constructed, they dominated, and then they crumbled. But now the puzzle will not fit. Radiocarbon dating, tool marks, oral history, eye research, all indicate something older, something buried, something that will not fit the timeline. Might it be that the Andes previously supported a society with a knowledge equal to or superior to that of any of the preeminent Old World civilizations, a society lost to time but leaving behind rumors etched in stone? Google's technology hasn't cracked the enigma. If anything, it has made it more profound. By revealing subterranean tunnels, hydraulic works, astronomic alignments, and chemical traces, it has opened a window, but not the doors. And perhaps the most surprising revelation of all is that history is not static. History exists. With each new find, the past reconstitutes itself. The Peruvian megaliths are not just stone monuments, but monuments to possibility, evidence that human creativity is much older, far weirder, and far greater than we ever imagined. And as you read this, one question remains like a whisper from the stones themselves: if ancient civilizations thousands of years ago were able